Yeah, so he says okay for YouTube, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you drink baby calf's milk?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Do you know what you're supporting when you do?
Um, what do you think?
I mean, you don't know anything about it? Like the dairy industry?
Um, I know some things about it. Yeah, sure.
Can you explain what, can you tell me what you know about it?
They take a lot of milk from a lot of different cows and animals all around the country, and they put it together. They pasteurize it, and then they sell it to us, and we drink it. That's what I know.
The main question was, do you drink baby cow milk? You
You
said,
mean when you say
you
that?
said yes.
When you say that, you mean like that's meant for the baby or from a baby cow?
It is for a baby
Oh,
cow,
okay, yeah.
not for a baby, or for a human to be.
Okay.
Like, it is baby cow. It is for a baby cow. It is from a. Where does milk come from?
Mammary glands.
That's a nice way to put it. But you know, it comes from mothers. If a female is not a mother, she will not produce milk, right?
Yes.
So again, it doesn't seem like you know much about the dairy industry. Do you know how much exploitation and abuse, oppression you're contributing to?
I mean, I guess you're saying I'm contributing because I consume it.
Finance it.
You finance it, you support it with your everyday options. Why do you support it, actually?
Did I say I supported it?
I mean, by consuming it, yeah.
I mean, consumption is a little different than support.
I mean, how do
You might
if
consume it.
you don't consume it, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna exist.
Not really, because it can be freaking. He can like consume it out of the ground or something without
But,
financing it economically. But let's stick to financing it economically. Why?
but yeah, but like, are you? So again, I said it's baby cow. It doesn't belong to humans. Why are you drinking something that doesn't belong to you? It's So let me explain the dairy
Or
industry
like
a little bit.
why exploit innocent
Why
beings?
exploit them?
Innocent
It's wrong. It's like
for dairy,
they.
eggs, meat,
So
stuff like that.
let me explain what happens. So first, we have to get a bowl. We have to force him to ejaculate, either by us do it ourselves, like someone like actually ejaculates, like, or we can insert like a metallic dildo, let's call it that,
And
in their anus. It's an electro ejaculator. It makes them ejaculate. And what would you think about that? What do you think the bull is feeling?
Or is that rape?
Probably different forms of, uncomfort.
Yeah.
Just,
Would you say, what would you call that act of putting something inside someone else without they don't want to, without their consent? What would you call that?
I don't know.
Does rape, violating their body parts come to mind?
Maybe violating, but not rape. No, I wouldn't say rape because that's a sexual thing.
Well,
If
would it be rape in the human context? Like if we were doing that to mentally disabled humans that couldn't consent or kids, would you call it rape or not?
I don't understand why it would be done in that context. So
No,
I
no.
don't
So
know.
it's just for to find common ground because presumably we both agree that it would be rape in that context, right?
I think, like I said, it depends on what the intention was.
So the intention is to breed them for milk. Yes, that's the intention. What if we found mentally disabled females of humans, and we forcibly make them ejaculate or forcibly impregnate them like the dairy cows? We forcibly impregnate them. If you saw that in humans, would you call it rape or no?
No, not rape.
Not rape.
No, not
But
rape.
would it be wrong? Would it be immoral?
So let's just say it's not, but is doing this. What if I were to put my arm inside a human's
Or inside
anus?
him, for example.
And let's imagine it, you. If I were to put my fist in your anus. You don't want to, but I forced my fist. What would you call that action?
I don't have like a single word for it, but definitely like violating some of my boundaries personally. Yeah.
So, do you think that's okay to do it to you or to anyone else?
I would do my best to stop you.
Yeah, that's the right choice. That's the right answer. That's what we do to cows and bulls. I mean, not bulls, but we ejaculate the bull forcibly without their consent, and we do it to cows later.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you know that's what you're contributing to?
I sort of come to terms with that at this point.
What do you mean?
Like I understand that that's basically what happens, but I think that that's kind of how things work.
Should it work like that, or should we like, this is wrong, we shouldn't do this?
Support it economically, like not give our money to it, right?
Well, I'm not moralizing about it. You know, I just recognize that we as humans have more power than cows, and so we do what we want to them. And I don't think it's a should issue, or you know, I think it's
No, he's
maybe a
asking-
personal choice.
He's asking you, should we continue doing that or should we stop?
Should we continue to do this, or should we stop?
Probably could do it differently.
How would you do it? Imagine, let's say, not necessarily to cows, but how would you do it to a human?
I would probably not do it to a human. I don't see why I would.
But the different way that you would do it to a cow, let's do it to a human. You say there's a
Yeah,
better
he's
way.
trying- he's
Hold on,
trying-
hold
let me
on.
explain really quick something. He's trying to find common ground because presumably you believe in universal human rights. You think it would be wrong to exploit humans, enslave them, and put our fist up their ass. But why do that to animals? Like, what's so different between us and animals that justifies doing that to them and not to us?
I don't believe in universal human rights as a presupposition. So,
Okay, so I
yeah.
just presume that. Okay, so
Yeah,
you, don't,
yeah.
you don't believe in universal human rights. Like if society decided to exploit mentally disabled people for milk, for example, you would happily pay for it. You wouldn't see a problem with it.
I would not. No, I would not happily pay for it.
But in the animal context, you do pay for it. So what's so different between us and animals that makes you have different attitudes about the two situations?
I am a human, so in my self-interest, I wouldn't want to see that done to me as a human or people like me as humans.
Okay, what if someone actually does a DNA test? I'm not human. Is it okay
Would you
for?
do that to him?
I look human, but I'm not. I'm actually an alien. 100% alien, but I look like this.
Any individual cow, I'm not advocating that they begin.
No, but me. Let's talk me.
Yeah.
Just answer his question for now.
I'm answering. I'm saying that any individual cow, it's not like I look at it and say that cow should be milked. You know, so
But
it's,
that's dodging the question. His specific question was, if he didn't have human DNA, would it be okay to put our fist up his ass and rape him for dairy, or would it be wrong? If he wasn't human, we tested his DNA, he wasn't human.
I don't think it's a moral issue, humans versus cows. That's what I'm trying to say. I just think
you mentioned because we're human, it's wrong to do that to humans.
I didn't say that.
Well,
You said that
contradicting
word.
yourself now.
What makes it okay is being human, because you're human and
I
you.
didn't say it would make it okay. I said I wouldn't consider it in my self-interest to have that happening to humans.
then-
What about the
then
cows?
Jigger-
Would they have an interest in that? Would they be okay? Think about it in the animal's perspective, because a lot of people have different opinions.
Right.
Not all opinions are right.
Yeah, Jigger, let me ask him something.
But
Jigger,
what about the animal,
Jigger,
the victim's
Jigger,
perspective?
I think there's some confusion. So his specific question was, would it be wrong to do that to him if he turned out to not be human? Would it be wrong to rape him basically for milk if he turned out to not be human? Like, yes or no, would it be wrong?
I'm not.
I'm not moralizing about it. I don't think it's wrong or right. I just
So
think
you're agnostic.
yeah,
You don't know if it would be wrong or right. You don't have an opinion about it.
not universal.
I actually am like, if that's the way you think about me, an alien, I actually probably hate you. I don't want to be
So let's say-
around
let's
someone
say-
who
let's imagine
who might
Jigger,
be
let's
agnostic
let's
on
imagine
potentially harming me,
Yeah.
or paying or letting someone else harm me, because
let's imagine it
I'm
in a
not
bigger
human.
scale. Let's say they were breeding clones of him, like through sexual manipulation, and doing that eternally to him, just using him for milk, just because he's not human. You see that situation, and you would happily support it with your money, as you're doing with the cow situation, or you wouldn't?
I don't think I would.
you wouldn't support economically, then why support the cow situation economically? What's so different between him and the cows that it justifies doing that to cows or justifies you giving your money to it?
Well, I've been acculturated to drinking cow's milk, but I've not, besides my mother, been acculturated to drinking a random human's milk.
Yeah, so that's what most of
It's
society
irrelevant, right?
has
Culture
been.
doesn't matter. Some cultural, like slavery, human slavery was a cultural practice. Was it fine because it was a cultural practice? Human slavery, for example.
I think whoever has the power to do what they do will do it.
So you have the power to change
You get-
this,
is
and
the
you're
trade that you
choosing
make,
to
by the way.
not
This is
change
very
it.
important. I'll ask one last question. So this is the reductio to your position. So if it was the case that you looked at an alternative universe, you were looking at a situation from another universe in which a version of you was indoctrinated to exploit him for dairy, you would see yourself in that world. Would you have the preference for your version of that in that alternative universe to go vegan or not like support his exploitation, or would you say it would be fine for that version of you continue to support his exploitation? You understand the question?
I understand the question. It's quite a question. So I'm going to paraphrase it if you don't mind. So you're asking me if I was able to view, if I was me viewing him in an alternative universe where in that universe I was acculturated to accept or for it to be normal that he is being processed for milk, basically.
Processed?
Yeah, whatever you know, it's semantic. Yeah.
In that universe, then that version of me, if that version of me thought it was normal, then I would disagree that it wasn't normal, but I wouldn't morally judge them because that was his acculturation.
So if the question was specifically this, would you have a preference that that version of you stop doing that or continues doing that? What would be your preference? For that version of you to continue exploiting him or to stop?
Well, the word exploitation is a little bit like kind of leading already.
Well, by exploitation, we're just meaning putting our fist up his ass and exploiting him for dairy. That's what he mean. Well, that's what we mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's probably hard to disagree with that.
Do you have a preference for that version of you to just stop consuming those products and stop financing them, or you wouldn't care either way?
I think I would probably have a preference for him to stop.
So even if it was the case that somebody was enculturated, the right thing's for him to stop anyway, right? So what's so different then between the situation we are in right now, where we're enculturated to exploit cows, and that situation where you were enculturated to exploit humans or like aliens or whatever? Like, do you see any much of a difference? Like, why?
I think the only
Why not see it as morally obligatory in both cases to stop financing exploitation?
In neither case have I been moralizing about the issue. It's just personal preference, or what I think.
What about? Let me stop you right there. What about you're forgetting the personal preference of the victim? You're not the victim. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the victims, cows, or the alien, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
You're forgetting who's the victim and who's the oppressor.
Okay.
So, does personal preference of the oppressor matter? Any?
Of the oppressed, do you mean?
The oppressor. The villain, the bully. Does their personal preference really matter? Or does the victim's preference matter more?
Well, I don't know what you mean by matter. Necessarily.
It's more important than like
Yeah, from
the victim should be considered and not forgotten,
from your
ignored.
own hierarchy of values, he's questioning you. So from your own hierarchy of values, what do you think is more important, to consider the opinions and the preferences of a victim or for an oppressor?
I think
Put yourself in you're the victim now. Answer the question now.
Yeah, but if I'm the victim, then it's in my self-interest to consider my preferences utmost. But
let me stop you. What if your oppressor is saying my opinion, my personal preference is better, is more important than your? Let's say I'm your oppressor. You're the victim.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm oppressing you. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm more important than you. I'm the hierarchy. I'm on top of you.
Sure. Yeah.
In different ways, because you can be on top of of a non-human animal and use them for your own benefit. And I would say that's very wrong.
Okay.
What would you say if I'm saying to you, you don't matter. You're a victim.
Yeah.
And I don't even consider you a victim. But if someone is not considered a victim, that is even like raising the victimization for that victim. The fact that we don't consider victims, that's the reason they're victimized. Have you ever thought about that?
A little bit, yeah, I have. Now, in general, when I consider like the what is between the person who has more power or the person or the being, right, that has less power, I think for me recently judging it morally is not proving fruitful. Instead, what I do is I just recognize that there is a power dynamic, there are power imbalances, and
Should the powerful exploit and oppress the powerless?
that's asking a moral question. And
I'm asking your moral view.
I don't think it matters ultimately. So
You'd be
I
okay
think
with
there's
you being
confusion.
victimized?
There's some confusion here. We're not asking if it matters like objectively from the universe's point of view. We're asking you from
your personal-
from your personal preferences, from your
I
values.
told you some of my personal preferences.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious about something. Do you just, when you're evaluating a situation, do you just take into consideration like your own, like your own benefit that you get from the situation, or do you consider like the preferences of others too? Like, do you think it is generally a good rule to not do unto others what you wouldn't want done unto yourself? Like, and
golden rule.
extend that to animals. Why not consider them as well, right?
Yeah.
Or do you only take into consideration your own benefit and you're like an egoist like that?
Well, actually, I think that might be a mischaracterization of egoism. You know,
Selfishness.
yeah, which is a loaded
by
word.
what-
Because
by
you're
what
really
definition?
sounding very selfish right now.
So, by what definition of egoism are you using?
I've recently done some research on Max Stirner's egoism, and I like it. So to answer your question, though, I think it's in my self-interest in general to consider as best as I can also the self-interest of others, and try my best to make sure that I'm not damaging their self-interest unnecessarily for my own self-interest.
Like with your purchase of dairy, for example.
Yeah, but it's not a universal rule, though, because
You're
there are
forgetting
times-
the
Well, we're
victim.
not asking if it's a universal rule. We're asking, are you violating your own norms by like unnecessarily supporting with your money animal exploitation?
In some instances, yes, probably. Yeah.
Like, and now like the question is like, if you would see it wrong in the human context, I just don't understand what's so different morally between us and animals that would make you like just continue doing it in the animal context.
I don't think it's a moral issue. I think it's
It actually is the most moral issue. Like
It's a moral,
it's a
emergency
moral
to them,
obligation.
to the victims, obviously.
It's a
If you were enslaved right now, it probably wouldn't be. It probably wouldn't be a moral issue to some random person that wasn't being enslaved, but to you, it is a moral issue. That's the point.
maybe I misspoke. I'm not saying I don't think it is a moral issue. I just don't think that morals are a good way to judge how to behave. I think there's other ways to judge what is the right. It's a loaded word, but what is even that? But like, what is the action that you choose to take in the situation that you're in, depending on.
Well, you use should. By should, you're already in ethical landscape. You're already talking about morals.
I think there's two valid uses of the word should, and one is moral, but one is also what is best interest, best. Like if you ask me what should I do, I used to always think that that was a moral question. I'd be like, I don't know, I don't know what you should do. But now recently I answer the question just based on you're asking me what do I think, what kind of outcome, based on my understanding of what kind of outcome you might want, what is the highest likelihood course of action that'll guide you to that outcome. So if you say, what should I do? I no longer think of it as the moral should. I think of it as the highest likelihood to guide towards the best outcome. So
Okay, but what do you mean by best? That's already just right there by
Your
saying no.
preference.
Sorry. By saying best, if you're talking about your preferences, that's why I take for morality to be morality. So I'm a moral, an ethical subjectivist. I think morality is subjective. So morality is basically synonymous with preferences. If you have a positive attitude towards something, then it is moral to you. If you have a negative attitude towards something, then it's immoral to you. We're just using Like whatever your other definition of morality you were using, that's what I'm taking morality to be. So
I think there's more similarities there than differences, but I don't know if it's even necessary to continue to use it as a framework of it's moral or immoral at that point. It's just in your arbitrary at times best interests, because who else can choose your best interests than you, and you're not always in a position to choose your own best interests. Some people don't choose their best interests and they defeat themselves, so.
Honestly, what I'm hearing in all this conversation is just you trying to justify you continuing to not do any change on your behalf. Like, it sounds very, again, selfish, very self-centric. Like, if it were done to you, you want them to stop. But if it were any other being who feels, who's sentient, who has a subjective experience, which animals do have that. Plants don't. Going back to the animals, because we're like kind of going to talking about words. The conversation is about animals, so I didn't really explain much about the dairy industry. So
it's
we
good
take
also to do semantic analysis. We want to make sure we know what we're talking about and not talk past each other, right?
yeah, but kind of like to get those words, we have to know what we're actually like supporting, like the dairy industry. So
I would like to say I don't particularly support the dairy industry, if that makes you feel better.
I said again, if you it's not
And
supporting.
when he says support, he's only meaning financially support, giving money to it and make it continue to happen by supply and demand.
Yeah, and by support,
there are some
by support, I don't mean like you say like if you see dairy industry or dairy cow enslaver, yeah. Don't you think cows are enslaved by humans? If they're not enslaved, are they free?
Arguably, yeah.
They're not free, so they're enslaved by humans.
Well, what's
you?
the definition of slavery? Does it actually encapsulate that as slavery, or you think you have more like an anthropocentric definition of slavery where it only applies to humans or something like that?
I mean, I could see why an anthropocentric view would. No, I don't have it. I don't have that. I can see slavery as being any being being able to.
So why continue?
Yeah.
Are you against slavery?
Not morally, no.
Wait, you're not like
No,
morally.
in the other sense of morally, like do you find it in your best interest? Personally, you want to be a good person. Does supporting slavery or financing slavery like go accord with your preferences?
No, it doesn't.
Why enslave others? Because let me go back to the support. When I say support, I don't mean like you see the cow enslaver, you say yes, go, keep doing it. You don't say so. Supporting it doesn't really mean like you go to protest for like there's a protest of cow. They call themselves dairy farmers, but we could also call them cow enslavers. So it's not like they're gonna protest to get the dairy industry even bigger than it already is, and you're gonna like join them. That's not what I mean by supporting. I mean supporting by consuming it, by eating it, by consuming it, by
someone else keeping it alive with your money. That's what he
because
means,
the dairy industry is alive because we pay for it, and it's gonna continue if we pay for it.
I guess I'm not. Oh, you want to say something else?
Well, also like just continue to. We take the semen when we ejaculate the bull. We take the semen. We like again the fisting of the cow to hold the cervix of the cow. And then with the other hand, so we violated the anus of the cow, the female cow, right? Mm-hmm. And then we violate the vagina now. So we're violating two body parts.
Yeah.
So we're doing this and this with a little tube that has the semen, and then we inject it.
Yeah.
By forcefully.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want that to happen to them.
Sure they don't. Yeah.
And just like humans, 9-month pregnancy, when the baby's
And
born.
not to mention, we then stab them all to death when they can't produce any more milk. They're useless to the industry, and the males, obviously useless to the industry. The males can't produce milk. They stab them as babies for veal or whatever.
Right, right.
So yeah, the dairy industry is basically liquid meat, flesh, liquid flesh.
Oh, okay. You're saying
So
milk is liquid flesh.
a lot of people think they're not supporting the animal muscle, flesh of animals industries.
Yeah.
Euphemism meat, right? But by supporting, like I said, the dairy industry, you're still supporting because the cow that it's all one industry. It's all separated by different products because society sees animals as products, as commodities, as
Sure,
as resources, as
Sure.
exploitable things, objects, inanimate objects,
Absolutely.
and it's all one industry. Dairy,
You can
meat.
conclude the
egg.
conversation. Is there a final point
So-
that you want to drive home? Just conclude.
It's not a diet, but a lot of people think being vegan is just a diet, but it's more about. It's not a diet. I suggest you go watch Dominion on YouTube. Just Google watchdominion.com. And as long as you're not vegan, you're being a bully. You're being the enslaver of. You're supporting the slavery of these animals. All the animals that you consume, either by putting in your mouth and then pooping them out.
Yeah, and also just
And
like,
wearing them.
just like you would be supporting it in the human case if it was happening to humans and you were giving your money to it. You know, in that same way you're supporting it in the animal context.
Yeah. So again, like it's not diet. You also, a vegan doesn't wear cows. Doesn't wear any animal, either like wool, feather, down, cashmere, silk, all these. We don't go to zoos, circuses, rodeos,
You want no part in that?
anything that has animals in there. A vegan is not there. Like
I believe
we don't
that.
support that.
Yeah.
So why aren't you vegan? They want to live. They matter.
No, or a more specific question. Next time you go out shopping, are you gonna? This is the last question. Next time you go out shopping, are you gonna choose to torture others, murder others, or are you gonna choose the
Enslave.
compassionate option, the vegan option? Well, which are you choosing next time?
Are you enslaving others next time?
Or going vegan?
Or yeah.
Wow. You guys are definitely very intense.
It's
Okay,
an
you respond
intense
the
topic
question?
because it's a moral emergency. It's not just to take it
So if
lightly.
you had to choose A or B, like
Le-
enslaving, torturing, stabbing animals, or going vegan, A or B, like which one sounds better according to your own preferences?
Enslaving. You said torturing?
Enslaving the
Torturing as
innocent.
in, like you see the standard practices, but obviously,
Even in a small, your uncle, your father, whoever in your family or a friend has some animals, like because a lot of people are against factory farm, but that's not what makes it wrong. Even if it
violating
was
the
just
right to
one,
life as well,
a
but
few animals.
he's like he was surprised about torturing. Personally, you don't know that they are torture. They remove body parts with anesthesia in factory farms. But even in small farms, you're stabbing them to death. So you're violating their right to life. So the question is, are you gonna violate their rights or are you gonna go vegan? Like if you had to choose between those two options, according to
get-
your values, what sounds better?
I guess I wasn't surprised that you said torturing, by the way. It's just that the word torture is like an intentional attempt to make someone suffer for your personal gain.
And even if we don't torture them,
Yeah.
they don't want to die. They don't want to be enslaved. They don't want to be
Let me ask you
used.
something. Let's say like somebody was like chopping his dick off, but it wasn't for like personal pleasure. It was as part of some sort of insane meat industry that we're doing in humans. If somebody chopped his dick off, you wouldn't call it torture?
I mean, if I was being really strict with what I think the word might mean, I would say no. I would say it's probably incredibly painful and and suffer-inducing.
And
but-
actually,
Let's
talking
use
about
painful.
that,
Let's use painful. Why
Yeah, yeah.
inflict pain on animals
right, yeah.
rather than not inflict pain on animals? Yeah.
and actually, let me
No,
talk.
but
Let me,
remember, there's a question on the table. I just
Okay,
want
yeah.
the answer. And it was the last question, so you can wrap up. But the question is, are you choosing to inflict pain on animals, violate their rights, or are you choosing vegan next time?
I will choose. I think can't predict the future. Maybe I'll feel differently in the future, but as of right now, I'm okay with imparting pain on those who I seek to have benefit over. Yeah.
So you're again selfish, egoist.
That's unfortunate. We hope you reflect on it. You see the documentary he recommends, and you like just reflect on why inflict pain on others and like stab others to death. Just reflect on it. It's between
Well-
you and your conscience now, but hopefully you reflect on it and you choose compassion instead of murder.
Yeah. I wouldn't intentionally cause them pain,
You're-
But also
by choosing it, you're intentionally.
But also thanks for
intentionally.
being intellectually honest and saying the truth instead of like lying for the camera. So you're supporting something that sounds like it's wrong from your own preferences. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah,
in
my
other words,
preference
like
is to
choosing
eat
to
meat.
be like hypocritical. In other words,
My preference is to eat meat and
Eat flesh,
no, 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 no.
because
So,
Yeah, yeah.
no. It's your preference to unnecessarily exploit, necessarily cause pain to others unnecessarily, and to torture others and kill others, stuff like that. Is that your preference? Is your preference to not inflict pain unnecessarily on others and like stab others and stuff like that?
My preference is not to intentionally cause pain unnecessarily, but to only cause pain when it's serving my interests.
Well, define unnecessarily, because are you like implying that it is necessary to exploit animals? Are you like implying it is necessary?
I think it can be necessary. It might not always be necessary.
how
What?
how can it sometimes be necessary?
Some instances you might be in a life or death situation, and that's your only option.
Are you? I don't think. I mean, I don't think.
You just asked
I don't think you're in that situation. Or
You just asked me
You
how.
ask him. You ask
Yeah, but
him
you're
for,
not
like,
in that
marginal
situation.
cases where it be justified. Like, and personally, you have the, do you? Let me ask you: do you have the same attitude in the human context? Like, if you're in a life or death situation and you only had like a bunch of kids or like mentally disabled people around you, and you had the options between dying of starvation or stabbing innocent like mentally disabled people, you would also do that in that context, or you wouldn't do it in that context?
If I was actually in a life or death situation, I would, yeah.
You would like
you-
stab kids or mentally disabled people.
humans?
Like,
They're
instead
humans.
of starving to death. That's the other alternative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't choose to starve to death. I would
okay. So you're
choose many
consistent.
other
You're consistent in both cases. But right now, personally, you're not in a life or death situation right now. So why choose unnecessarily infliction of pain and the violation to the right of life of animals?
Eating animals violates fewer of my norms than eating humans would.
In what way? Like, what do you mean?
I would not consider it normal to eat humans, but that's arbitrary. But I
So-
still
so
personally
if
wouldn't.
it turned out to be normal to eat humans, let's say society like changed out of nowhere, you found yourself in another situation and it was normal, everybody except you consider it normal, so by definition it would be normal because everybody has a positive attitude towards it. You would like see yourself like paying for human dairy and human meat in that situation where it's normal?
Are you asking, do I think it's normal? Or
No,
do I
no,
see
no.
other people
If
think
you like woke up tomorrow and it was normal out of nowhere,
Yes,
like,
I
and you're
understand
now
that.
in that world, are you paying for it because it's normal or are you not paying for it?
My question now is, do I think it's normal in this hypothetical? Or do I still think it's abnormal?
That's not the question.
You're the only one that doesn't think it's normal. Let's say that for the sake of the hypothetical.
If I'm the only one who doesn't think it's normal, then I wouldn't consider it normal and I wouldn't do it.
Wait. That confuses me a little bit because by definition, normal is whichever like the most amount of people think is the right thing. So
Normal is on an individual basis. Everybody has their own norms, but they get acculturated to other people. But if like you said, if I don't think it's normal, it's not normal to me, and so I wouldn't do it then either.
I see. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't do it just because it isn't normal to you.
Excuse me?
Just because it isn't normal to you, you wouldn't do it.
Right. I generally follow my norms and behavior. Yeah.
And you don't think it violates any of your norms to inflict pain unnecessarily on others that are not human?
Again, I wouldn't lead with the inflicting of pain because I don't think the intention is to inflict pain. I think pain is the byproduct.
Well, let's say instrumentally inflicting pain and then violating the right to life. You don't see that as violating any of your norms?
You're using a couple phrases there. Violating a right to life. I don't think there is a right to
So
life.
you don't believe animals deserve a right to life?
I don't think there is a right to life.
Not into humans.
So you don't. So by right, obviously, I mean just like a strong preferences.
Oh, yeah.
You probably have a strong preference for innocent humans not being stabbed, right?
I have a strong preference for that, yeah.
But you don't have a strong preference in the animal context. If people holocaust animals, you don't have any like strong preference against that.
I have a strong preference against the Holocaust of animals, yes.
Well, Holocaust, I just mean slaughter on a mass scale. So, for sandwiches, for example.
That's not what I mean by Holocaust. Holocaust
So
is not for any
Holocaust,
purpose.
if by Holocaust I mean slaughter on a mass scale, that's the dictionary definition. If you Google Holocaust definition, the first definition that's gonna arise is slaughter on a mass scale. Like, your preference don't go against the slaughter on a mass scale of innocent like animals for sandwiches.
or any other product.
I mean, maybe that is what it says when you Google Holocaust, but when I think of Holocaust, it's not for a purpose, for like a self-interested purpose of like, I'm going to eat this.
Let's just go by my definition. This is semantic. My definition is slaughter on a mass scale. Do you consider it like to be against your preferences to slaughter on a mass scale innocent animals for sandwiches, or do you think that's totally fine to do that?
I consider it against my preferences to slaughter on a mass scale innocent animals for sandwiches. Do I get to eat the sandwiches?
Yep.
Then yeah, I'm okay.
You're very selfish.
And what's so different between us and animals that like justifies doing that to us just because like happen to have a positive attitude towards it?
There may not be a difference between us and animals, except for that I'm one of us. So other than my participation in the abstract concept of human, I'm not going to violate the norms of human.
Anyways, he said that if I was alien, he would be okay with. He wouldn't.
And let's say
think
your
that's
preferences
outside.
change. Your preferences change tomorrow, and you found yourself for some reason. I think it's normal to you stab and eat humans. You would then, in that situation, evaluating that situation from today. You see that situation tomorrow. It's fine for him to stab humans because he has preferences in favor of stabbing humans.
Well, like when you say it's fine, are you saying it's morally fine? Like what changed? Is it just like I had a preference change?
Would it go against your preference today if you saw through a crystal ball what you would do tomorrow, and your attitudes would change, and you would suddenly be in favor of human exploitation? Would you like from today see that situation from tomorrow and say, I think it doesn't violate my preference from that version of me tomorrow supporting human meat?
I got a little confused there.
So you see the situation right here. This is a crystal ball. You see yourself tomorrow with you hit your head with a bat, and your attitudes change. Now you're fine with stabbing innocent humans for sandwiches. Now the question is, you see that situation. You see that situation from today,
Yeah.
and in that future tomorrow you're fine with it, but not today. And you see that situation. Is it fine do you have a preference against that person supporting human meats tomorrow? It's you. The person is you.
Yeah. Okay. The way you're asking the question is not easy
It's
to
a heady
answer.
hypothetical.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got the idea.
Yeah, but it's important that we're very precise with it. But okay, I'll answer what I think is being asked. If I actually, for some reason, get hit over the head,
Yep.
and I have actually changed what I think is normal, then there would be nothing stopping me from thinking that's okay.
No,
because
but
in that
that's
situation,
not the question. The
I
question-
would be a different person.
Obviously, but the question is this: you're seeing that future in a crystal ball from today, and you evaluate that situation.
No, I think that's abnormal because I have not been hit by a crystal ball yet.
The question is if it's abnormal or not. The question is, would it violate your norms for that future version of you to do that?
Today, yes, then no. Yeah.
I just don't understand why not like extend that basic moral consideration to animals right now today.
You're asking why I don't extend the today, yes, it's against my preferences to animals.
Why have such a strong preference against stabbing humans for sandwiches, but not against animals? Like that sounds like a little bit like human,
speciesist.
like human supremacist or something like that.
Anthropocentric.
I don't think we're like inherently better than other animals. I just recognize I'm a member, I think, of a species, sexual reproduction, that also is not like other animals in a lot of ways in the sense of like we have this abstract reasoning and thought process and language, and we create these rules for ourselves. And we have systems of enforcement of social acceptance or social.
Well, are you saying we, generally speaking, because obviously there's marginal cases of humans that can't like communicate with language, can't build societies and stuff like that. So I don't know what you mean by we.
Don't have language and.
Yeah, there's mentally disabled people. There's small
I'm
children.
talking about humans in their groups, not humans as individuals. Like I don't think there's a group of human that doesn't have language. Yes, there are individuals who appear, and we consider those.
There are definitely
abnormal.
groups of humans that don't have an ability to use language.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then I didn't know that.
For example, humans that don't have an ability to communicate with language. That's a
But
group.
no, when I say group, I mean a locally contiguous group, like a group of 100 people who are in the same tribe. I'm not talking about like black people, white people, gay people. I'm not talking about like abstract communities, because those communities I don't think exist. They're abstract. They're abstract concepts. There's you see what I mean? Like when I say humans have language and abstract reasoning and thought process, that I haven't seen a lot of evidence for in animals, right? I'm not
You
saying
think
they
animals
do
don't
it.
have their language? They don't speak as if
think that they
we,
have-
we cannot understand them, but they
Well,
do have their
that's
own
irrelevant.
language.
That's irrelevant anyway
I don't know
because
if it's abstract reasoning language, but sure, maybe.
Do-
that's, it's irrelevant anyway because there's marginal cases of humans without any like higher cognitive abilities. There's mentally disabled people, so
I think so,
it's
yeah.
irrelevant. The important thing is that they're sentient. They want to live.
Well, I wasn't using that as the reason why, but I'm using that as why I feel as a member of the human race there are reasons why it's not in my interest to do what you're suggesting.
I'm
Eating
curious about
humans.
something. I just out of curiosity, like, are you generally speaking in favor of moral progress in the sense that, like,
Moral
like looking back in history, you think things like abolishing slavery, giving rights to women, like not chemically castrating LGBT people for loving their own person, like expanding our circle of moral consideration? Do you generally speaking think that's good, and we should aim to like make the world better?
Whereas I wouldn't use the word moral progress. The idea you're asking, yes, I do think that's good. Yeah, the things because they open up for individuals the greatest amount of the ability to pursue what they think are in their best interests. If they're slaves, they can't do it. If they're, yeah. So I think if individuals can pursue their self-interest.
And by individuals, are you also including non-human animals, or for some reason you're keeping them out of the term individual?
I'm keeping them out, yeah.
Why do that?
Because he's selfish. He only considers himself instead of the victims. He's the victimizer, the bully. Not a good person. If I was an alien, I would consider you a very villainous person.
I would like to revise my answer, yeah. I don't support the dairy industry like...
You do.
I would like to
by his
speak.
definition, you do support it by giving your money to it. By
Okay,
his definition.
but by my definition, I don't. So I don't support the dairy industry.
Wait, what's your definition? Because I want some clarity about that. What's your definition of supporting?
Yeah. I think supporting is like a mental approval of.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't have mental approval of the dairy industry. I think it's doing a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't do if I was in control of the industry or whatever. However, the product that it produces approximates something that I would consume, which is either mother's milk, ideally, or
You're not a baby or a cow.
But
in any event.
Then you don't have sorry to interrupt you. I just want to understand this. Like, you don't have like a negative attitude towards like keeping it alive with your money.
I don't really personally put a lot of stock in the idea that individuals either have the power or maybe even have
How do you suggest a big corporate? I know where you're going. I
There's
know.
something even worse that extends logically from that, because like in the human context, you presumably wouldn't give your money to it even if you were agnostic about how much you're contributing, like you have enough power. In the human context, presumably you wouldn't give your money to it even if you had that same amount of power.
I wasn't listening. Can you repeat that?
Just continue to say what you were saying. Sorry. Because I was just pointing out in the human context, you wouldn't have that attitude where you would be fine giving your money to it, even though if you don't think you don't have the power to change it. You would still
Or
give your money.
mentally not support it, but still support it with your consumption.
Yeah, I think the issue here is that the reason I don't do it with humans is because it's not normal. It's not socially considered acceptable. I don't think in either case it's immoral. I think it's just not normal, so I don't do it. And
I guess if you were the victim, it's fine if you were the victim.
I mean,
Well, if you were
arguably
the
in
victim-
many ways in life, I've been a victim, right?
But-
I understand what
So
it
you
is
should
here.
continue being a victim,
sorry that
right?
you felt
But-
victimized at some point, but like this, he said something interesting. Like if you were the victim, if you were the victim, presumably you would like yourself to go vegan, right? If you were the victim, like you would like this person right here. If you were the victim, to go vegan right away.
Because again, you're about to die. You're being
I would want to
exploited.
not die more than I would want to change the preference of those who are like I wouldn't tell.
That's what we're trying to do here. Like if you're the victim,
Yeah, I know,
you,
but
you
I'm
want to
saying
try to
you're-
get
what
your
you're trying to do-
oppressor to stop oppressing you, and you know
What I'm saying though is
that's
that
very selfish to not want that.
what I'm saying is that if I would want to not die, but I wouldn't project my desire onto wanting the other being the oppressor, right? I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't inherently say, okay, I want you to stop doing what you were doing.
Let
Like
me because I'm not clear
I would
what
want to
you're
not
even saying.
die.
I'm not clear what you were saying.
Do the
let's say
animals
what's
want to
happen- No,
die?
no. Let's say what's happening right now. Let's say
And
what's
why pay
happening-
for it? Why
No,
be
you got-
Because sometimes-
why
I
be
want
the
some
reason
clarity
they
on
are? You're being the reason.
sometimes things that don't want to die get killed.
No, man,
That's not-
dude. Because I want some clarity about what he said. If you were right here, like putting in all fours, and there was gonna be somebody that was gonna introduce a electrojaculator into you, to like obtain semen from you by raping you, violating you. Would you have the preference that person not do that and like rather walk away and not do that to you?
I would have the preference that didn't happen to me. Yeah.
But you are fine with happening that. If you're not the victim, it's fine. If I'm the victim, don't do it. That's you.
I don't know if I would simplify it that much.
That's what you're saying with your action. It doesn't mind. It doesn't matter if your mind goes there. But
I know a more analogous example. So let's say that was gonna happen to you regardless, but then would you have, in that position of victimization, would you have the preference for this whole thing to stop and for humans stop giving your money to financing people like you being like anally violated? Would you have that preference? Like, I'm gonna be violated either way and killed, but do you have the preference for that to stop in the future or not?
If I was about to have that happen to me, and for some reason that was being financed by other people,
Yep.
and I think I w-
Yeah, sorry. So continue.
I think I would want that instance to not happen, and then in general, if I was under the threat of that happening to me again or to other people, then I would want that to stop, so that people
that
like
wasn't
me
exactly
wouldn't
the
have.
question. That wasn't exactly the question. It was gonna happen to you regardless, but would you have the preference for it to stop for the other beings that are being?
That's what I said at the end.
yeah.
Is that whatever being I am at that time, I would say I would want that to not happen to them. So I would want it to not be like an institution where it's just being amplified. Yeah.
So why not respect their preferences right now, as we speak?
Oh, because I'm not a cow.
wow, that's very.
not
You're,
that
you're
mean.
discriminating based on species, just like racism. Again, all over again. Just repeating history all over again. Just different beings. The black person, which I am not a white person, I'd be discriminated based on my skin.
Yeah.
A woman doesn't. We all three of us are more powerful than the women. That's why they don't vote or they don't have any say in what the world happens to the world, or like we.
Who doesn't? You're saying the cows?
No, I'm talking about like discrimination on different species, whether they're human, they're
I'd
a
like to
man,
say something.
or a woman who's
Let him
discriminated.
have the last word.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to say, as of recently, I have been thinking a little bit about what the powerful person in a situation, what can they possibly do in their power to not. I don't even know which words I want to use here, and not to say abuse their power, but basically, how can like a very powerful person or organization or what have you continue to serve their best interests, right? Even when in the pursuit of what they think is their best interest, they are doing damage or hurting those who have less power than them, and and so I would like to find a way that the powerful individual can.
Let me stop you right there.
Let him finish.
I would like to find a way so that the powerful can include as much of the interests of others in their decision making without necessarily lessening or defeating or negating their own self-interest. So the power, because I think every being in the pursuit of their self-interest ought to maximize their self-interest, and simultaneously ought not to purely be ignorant of the self-interest of others, so that they are not treading on the self-interest of others when they need not to, but are still yet willing to tread on the self-interest of others when it is truly in their best interest or in the best interest of the powerful. So if I have power and I want to do something, yes, I may have to cause pain to get what I want from you. But in other instances, I may say, well, I don't have to actually get that from you. Yet I still get what I want. So how can I still get what I want without unnecessarily, harming another?
So let me be honest about something. It sounds like veganism extends logically from all you said. So veganism would be that balance where I don't see what like self-interest of yours you're gonna be denying by going vegan. Like you can get taste pleasure out of plant-based foods and stuff like that without exploiting needlessly others. Like going vegan sounds like that very thing you're looking for, man.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Reflect on it, man.
Think
of
about the victims. You're not the victim. Like,
I don't know if it's the responsibility of anyone.
so
to think about.
the question that I want
I think it's interesting what he's saying. What are you saying? It's not a responsibility of who?
Yeah, I'm wondering what. I mean, I guess this is the same thing I just said, and almost I'm negating it in a way. But I wonder what responsibility do I have in consideration of someone else's interests. I think I lost the thought.
Yeah, I don't understand what you're saying. It seems to me like what you're in power of is your daily choices. So why, with your daily choices, contribute a little bit into unnecessary exploitation?